First, we will review how we calculate entropy in statistical mechanics. This was discussed towards the end in the last class. Next, we will talk about conditions for equilibrium, thermal equilibrium, mechanical equilibrium, chemical equilibrium. You already know from our thermodynamics, but we will see what it means when we talk about statistical mechanics. Then we will see whether statistical mechanics is consistent with our, or whether we are able to arrive at equation of state for classical ideal gas using statistical mechanics. We'll see what energy equation statistical mechanics gives us. Then we will talk about a concept of phase space and ergodic hypothesis, statistical ensemble. And last, we will see, if time permits, resolution of Gibbs paradox. We have already discussed what is Gibbs paradox, and we will try to see how statistical mechanics helps us resolve. How Gibbs resolved, how it is consistent with our statistical ideas. For more information about our activity and videos, you can visit our website, infinitelearning.org. I would also request you to subscribe our YouTube channel, Dr. Modi's Infinite Learning, if you are interested, so that you can get the information about new videos which are being posted. Okay, this is where we uh, started with statistical idea. So we have two systems, A1 and A2. A1 has number of molecules N1, has volume V1. This energy, again, I have not made a correction, should have been E1. And for A2, it should be N2, V2, and E2. And this capital omega is representing number of states of particles. We have still not talked about how we calculate number of states. It still is an abstract concept. For example, when we had one single box and when we divided into two, not this, don't compare with this. When we divided into two parts and we said that, look, if I have n molecules, I will have 2 raised to n states if I simply distinguish between left and right. But it's not that simple. Okay? The actual number of states will be very, very large. And the box cannot be thought of only as made of two partitions. So that omega we still have to arrive at. But as of now, we will call that as by symbol omega. The omega is same as the symbol for ohm, the Greek alphabet. So for A1, we have number of states omega 1, A2, we have number of states omega 2. And now we are saying that A1 and A2 are in thermal equilibrium, which means the total energy of A1 plus A2 is constant. So if A1 has energy E1, A2 has energy E2, sum of this energy E is constant. We know that two systems are in thermal equilibrium when they are at the same temperature. And we will see what this means in statistical mechanics or how we can make use of this idea. So if A1 can have omega 1 states and A2 can have omega 2 states, the total number of states will be omega 1 into omega 2. See, you toss two dice. First die can have 6 possibilities, that is 6 number of states. Second has also 6 number of states. Total possibilities are 36. That's exactly what we are talking, omega 1 into omega 2. That's you can understand why we are multiplying. Why it's not omega 1 plus omega 2. Because for each of the omega 2 state, there will be omega 1 states. So you add omega 1 plus omega 1 plus omega 1, omega 2 times. So A1 and A2 exchanges energy till the equilibrium is reached. Now let the equilibrium energy be E1 bar and E2 bar. And the equilibrium is the most probable state. You remember, when you throw two dice, the maximum possibility is for some 7. And that occurs in 6 possible ways. And that's why if you want to bet, you would rather bet on some 7 than anything else. Similarly, if you take n molecules, divide into box into 2 partitions, there are total number of states which are 2 raised to n, out of which most likely state is the one in which half of them are on the left half on the right half. And if it's an equilibrium state, most of the time we will see the gas molecules equally distributed within the entire box. which means if I put a hypothetical partition, I will find n by 2 on left and n by 2 on the right, which means most probable state is the one we will observe most of the time. And especially if that state happens to be peaking and all others adjacent states have much lower probability, much lower possibilities, then that's all what you would be observing. For example, if you take 2 raised to n, and if I say that, look, what is the probability that one molecule on the left and n minus 1 on the right, there are only n possibilities. One of the n molecules will be on the left, the others will be on the right. But if I say what is the possibility that all n are on one half and the others are on the nothing on the other half, then you say there is only one possibility, okay, to make the empty. So that's very, very small compared to half of the molecules going to the left and half to the right. So that is why we are saying that equilibrium is the most probable state. It's not right to call it equilibrium, but since out of that exponential number, most of the time occurrence is for the that particular state. That's what you will end up observing. But that's not necessarily true. I mean, fluctuations can occur, exceptions do happen, and those exceptions are the most difficult to understand for people. Since I say it's a most probable state, we will take omega to be maximized for energy E1 equal to E1 bar. Obviously, if E1 is E1 bar, E2 will be E2 bar. And E2 bar will also be E bar minus, E minus E1 bar. If I differentiate omega 1 into omega 2, you know the UV rule. So first you differentiate omega 1 times omega 2 plus omega 1 times differentiation of omega 2, and that sum should be equal to 0. Now, since E1 plus E2 is equal to E, and that's constant, if I take DE1 plus DE2, that will be 0, which means DE2 is minus DE1. So if I replace this DE1, okay, let me just see if I can put a pointer here. So if I replace this DE1 by DE2, it will come with a negative sign. And then I can transfer, because of the negative sign, the second term on the right hand side. So I'll have differentiation of omega 1 with E1 into omega 2 is equal to omega 1 into differentiation of omega 2. Now, to make it uniform, I divide by omega. So omega 1 into omega 2, if I divide by, the left hand side will become 1 upon omega dou omega 1 by dou E1. Right hand side will become 1 upon omega 2 dou omega 2 by dou E2. So each side is dou by dou E1 of log omega 1 on left hand side, dou by dou E2 of log omega 2 on right hand side. So that's the equation which you will be observing here. And since both the derivatives are equal, and we say this is the most probable state, and that's an equilibrium, we say, okay, let that be equal to some parameter beta. But our thermodynamics tells us that if I take dou S by dou E, that's equal to 1 upon T. We also know that thermal equilibrium says that temperature on both the sides have to be same, and that happens to be this derivative. Not temperature, but what is same is this derivative. Derivative on the left is equal to derivative on the right. That means it should have some relation with my 1 by T. Okay. And at the same time, if you notice entropy, if I have entropy of the left half S1 and of the right half S2, total entropy is S1 plus S2. But if I take number of states, then the total number of states become product of the two, omega 1 into omega 2, which means if at all entropy is related to omega in some way, it should be related to log omega. So comparing these two and just thinking along these lines, we can define entropy as something proportional to log omega, and that constant of proportionality Kb is known as Boltzmann constant, right? And now you can understand if omega 1 is a maximized state, that's the most disordered state. So if I have all the gas molecule on the left half, that's an ordered state. And if I allow them to expand, that becomes a disordered state. So entropy is increasing, which means increase in entropy is related to disorder, maximizing the possibilities, which means entropy is a measure of disorder. This was already thought of in thermodynamics, functional thermodynamics, but nobody knew why it is that way. But once you look at the statistical origin of this thermodynamic behavior, then it's very clear that why entropy is a measure of disorder.
Hello.
Aji.
Sir.
Yeah.
Maximizing the possibilities means.
Maximizing means agar maine, if I have a box in which all the gas molecules are in one half, and I lift the partition,
Okay.
then slowly, this will spread and occupy the entire box. Now, if I look at one half, there is only half the molecules. And if you look at the number of possibilities out of 2 raised to n possibilities, number of possibilities that n by 2 are on the left half and n by 2 are on the right half, then that's maximum. By lifting the partition, you went to a state which has maximum possibility. That's what we mean by saying maximizing possibility.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So if I have a perfume bottle and perfume is just within that bottle, that's a very ordered state. I can access this perfume anytime. But the moment I open this bottle and the molecule starts spreading in the entire room, now I have no control over those molecules. Okay. So the ordered state is easy to deal with, but once it has become disordered state, once they spread the most possible ways, uh, that becomes the disordered state. All right. And with that definition, your parameter beta becomes 1 by kT. Okay. And that Boltzmann constant has a value, which I'm sure all of you are familiar with.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So for thermal equilibrium, uh, it's the derivative of log omega with respect to energy that should be constant, that should be same on either side. Uh, for mechanical equilibrium, it turns out to be the derivative with respect to volume that should be same on both the sides. And that parameter turns out to be P by kT. Or rather, if you put P by kT as this parameter, then that's what gives you all your meaningful thermodynamical relations. So we tend to consider that as P by kT. And for chemical equilibrium, where you allow exchange of particles between left and right half. So if the partition is porous, in mechanical equilibrium, it has to be movable. Chemical equilibrium, it should be porous. That means particles can leak through uh, the partition. Okay, then the derivative of log omega with respect to number of particles should be constant, and that turns out to be minus mu by kT, where minus mu, of course, we have already seen is called chemical potential. Uh, Now you look at this relation which we talked about was because sorry, because we have dE equal to TdS minus PdV plus mu dN. So if I consider log omega as entropy S, all right, and then if I say that take dou S by dou V, look at this equation. Okay, energy is constant, so dE is 0. number of molecules are constant. You see, N and E are constants. So this is 0, which means if I take ds by dv, that's P by T. So dou S by dou V is P by T. Of course, since your S is k log omega, that k we have not written here, so it will be transferred. So that's why you get P by kT. Similarly, if you look at chemical exchange, since volume and energy are constant, E is constant, V is constant, ds by dn is mu by T, actually minus mu by T. Okay? And it's the same way. Therefore, dou log omega by dou n has to be minus mu by kT. This is, of course, comparison with our energy equation from classical thermodynamics. That's how we decided about 1 by kT. That's how we are deciding about pressure and chemical potential. So, to summarize, your entropy is k log omega, where omega is the number of possible states at with number of particles n, volume v, and total energy E. And you have a equation which is almost same as first law of thermodynamics, and therefore you are able to define your parameters. So now in statistical mechanics, you want to define pressure, chemical potential, and temperature. You will have to rely on these equations where your S is, of course, k log omega, and then you will be able to define what is pressure, what is temperature, and what is chemical potential. And of course, you already have your other types of energy: Helmholtz free energy, Gibbs free energy, and enthalpy. These are three more energy equations. Now I want you to work out this exercise. That means for a classical gas, do find out expressions for Cp and Cv and see what is the difference. That's a simple exercise. Please take it as homework. I'm sorry, I didn't give you time to copy. You want me to go back and allow you to write it down, or
Yes,
you
sir.
have been able to write it down? Okay, let's see.
Well,
That's what we started with. In fact, that's what we discussed last time. So this you may have written, but you can just quickly note it down, and we move on to the next slide. So for each one, I will give you about a minute or so and ask you. If you are still writing, let me know. Otherwise, I will assume you have been able to copy, and I will move on. If there is any step which we have performed that you do not understand, please let me know. Please ask your question. Okay, I think now if you allow me, I'll go to the next slide. So is everyone managed to copy it down? Uh,
No,
if
sir.
nobody says no, then I will go further. हाँ जी.
Wait a minute, I'm writing down.
Yeah, sure. I'll wait. Let me know when you're done.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now can I go forward?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
All right. Can I go forward?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Somebody said 2 minutes. Okay. I think I'm going forward. I hope everyone has managed. Yeah. Now you can note down the condition for thermal equilibrium, that the derivatives on two sides have to be same, and that should be equal to 1 by kT. And that for mechanical equilibrium, it's a derivative with respect to volume, and that should be P by kT. And as I showed you, uh, energy equation D equal to TdS minus PdV plus mu dN. That's what tells you that you will need to define. Once you say that my entropy is k log omega, then you need to define these derivatives as P by kT or 1 by kT. And if it's a chemical equilibrium, then that derivative with respect to number of particles, that would be defined as minus mu by k. Okay. Can I go to the next slide?
Wait, wait.
Sir,
Huh, please ask.
in chemical equilibrium, which is this symbol?
What
Minus
is it?
mu upon kBt.
Uh,
Symbol name is?
mu is chemical potential.
No, that symbol.
You are saying about this symbol?
Yeah,
Yeah, I suppose it's a zeta,
yeah.
Z, ZETA.
Okay.
Okay, I think now everyone should have copied it. I am moving forward. So unless somebody says no, then I will move.
Done.
All right, can I move forward?
Wait, sir.
Yes. Now can I?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the first one is expression for specific heat of gas at constant volume, and second one is expression for specific heat of gas at constant pressure. And you will see volume is constant, it's simply dou E by dou T. But if pressure is constant, it's not simply derivative of E. It is derivative of E plus P. It is enthalpy. So it's slightly higher because there is one extra term here. If you have finished writing, then I can move forward. Okay, I'm going up. Now, we want to understand ideal gas in terms of our statistical mechanics. Whether it will give me the same information, same relations for ideal gas as I already know. If that is so, of course, we have based it on our laws of thermodynamics or our thermodynamic equations. So It's expected to do that, but we'll just verify that. Uh, so if you have n non-interacting particles in a container of volume V, then the number of possible states have to be proportional to V raised to n, because for each molecule or each particle there is volume V. So number of states it can have definitely will depend on volume V. Uh, when we go further and we will do more accurate calculation, you will see that. But as of now, grossly we can understand that the number of states will be proportional to V. So if I have n molecules, each n will have number of states proportional to V. And as we said that this number of states are multiplicative. So for each molecule V states, so V into V into V, V raised to n. And in that case, you look at your pressure by temperature equation, which is dou log omega by dou V. Of course, since you said omega depends on V only, you can assume everything else is constant. So omega is some constant times V raised to n without any issue. So if omega is constant times V raised to n, log omega will be log of constant plus n times log V. So when I take derivative with respect to V, that constant term will go away, and n times log V will give me derivative as n upon V. So if I take pressure by temperature, dou by dou V of n times log V will give me n upon V, which means my equation, if you look at it, will become PV equal to NKT, that we are familiar with as nRT. N is of course number of molecules, but if I write number of molecules as number of mole times Avogadro's number, then Avogadro's number into Boltzmann constant will give me R, universal gas constant. So it gives me same equation PV equal to nRT, which means my basic assumption that entropy is proportional to log of number of possible states that can be calculated statistically, then it does give me a equation of state which is consistent. Now you can ask a simple question, which actually I am asking you. Where have I assumed that I am dealing with a gas? So if I say it gives me gas equation, did I ever say that I'm dealing with gas or solid or a liquid? So who would try to answer it? Let's see. Who can answer it? I don't have the names of people who are present. I can't see them at the moment because even my screen is occupied. So I'll call some names. If they are present, they should let me know. Is Dhaval present? Dhaval? Okay. Bhandari?
Yes, sir.
Akhilesh?
Uh,
Haji.
sir.
So Akhilesh, where have we assumed that we are talking about gas? We simply said that the number of states are proportional to V raised to n. Where are we saying that we are dealing with a gas? Although we did get gas equation, but how do we say that this is a gas equation?
Mm,
Yes, any of the girls who all are present? Priyanka present?
Yes, sir.
So Priyanka, where have we assumed that we are talking about gas? We did get gas equation or familiar one. Yeah, anybody else? Say Lorita. Is Lorita there?
Yes, sir. No.
Or Mayuri? Mayuri, is Mayuri there?
Sir, when we stated that there are n non-interacting particles, that means they are not interacting. It means that they are gas molecules, right?
Who is talking?
Akhilesh, Akhilesh.
Akhilesh. Yes, very good, Akhilesh. I'm really happy That's exactly the point. We have not assumed any kind of interaction between these molecules. They are absolutely non-interacting, and non-interacting means there is no reason that these gas molecules will form a liquid state or a solid state. Okay, they are non-interacting. That is what is the basic assumption of kinetic theory of gases. So our assumption that they are non-interacting is very clear in this, and therefore the equation it leads you has to be gas equation. Very good. I'm very happy. Okay, now we talked about classical system. Then you said, look, this is just classical, but the molecules, gas molecules we are talking about are the quantum mechanical particles. Now, would quantum mechanics also lead me to the same kind of situation? Let's examine this. Okay. So I have a quantum mechanical box, cubical box of volume L cube. So length, breadth, and height for the box are L each. The total energy, if there are n particles, and each of the particle is in some energy state, then some of those energies will give you total energy of the system. Uh, for any particle, any molecule, the energy will depend on the quantum state. Nx, ny, and z are the quantum numbers of those states, as you are familiar with a particle in one-dimensional box. This is just an energy expression for particle in a three-dimensional cubical box. So this is a familiar equation for everybody. Uh, and therefore, I can say that this nx square plus ny square plus nz square is now L square we would like to write as V raised to 2 by 3. So it will be 2m V raised to 2 by 3 upon h bar square into energy. Okay, and this nx square plus ny square plus nz square will depend on the number of distinct eigenfunctions. Okay, uh, uh, so number of distinct eigenfunctions you would assume is same as number of distinct positive integer solutions. So the possible combinations of nx, ny, and z, right? So if I say, look, if I take the same energy uh, such that nx square plus ny square plus nz square is 1, there are three possible solutions, right? 100, 010, or 001. So like that, that would mean three possibilities, right? Three states possible. So for all n particles, so each particle there are three states, three possibilities, nx, ny, and z. There are n particles, so you are adding nr square. There will be three n terms, okay, and that should be equal to 2m v raised to 2 by 3 by h bar square into energy, and this whole expression here, we call as E star. Okay, so E star is not energy, E is the energy. Okay. We just want to absorb this constant somewhere. So now, if you look at your number of states here, this nr squares, it tells you that your number of states are proportional to v raised to 2 by 3. So entropy is dependent on v raised to 2 by 3. Uh, Now, for entropy to be constant, number of particles to be constant, it means if I say that the entropy is constant, it means my number of states are constant. Right? So this is, sigma nr square is constant. It means v raised to 2 by 3 into E is constant. So my one equation which I have managed to get from this is E into v raised to 2 by 3 is constant, or E is v raised to minus 2 by 3. Now, if you have seen the previous equations, pressure is minus dou E by dou V when N and S are constant. So it gives me an equation P equal to 2/3 of E by V, or you can say PV equal to 2/3 of E. Now, that is very much a familiar equation for us. Because if you combine this with PV equal to NKT, it tells you energy is 3 by 2 NKT. Again, that's familiar to us because 3 by 2 KT is for a molecule or a particle with 3 degrees of freedom. each degree associated with half kT. And so if I have n particles, it will be n times 3 by 2 kT. So again, quantum system also gives me equations which are appearing to be consistent with what we already know. Even this equation, P equal to 2/3 of E by V, E by V is energy density, is familiar from our kinetic theory of gases. And of course, if you go further and combine these, it will give you PV raised to 5 by 3 equal to constant. If all other entropy is constant. Of course, entropy constant means the process we are talking about is an adiabatic process. And for adiabatic process, for an ideal gas, we have PV raised to gamma equal to constant. So in this case, that gamma is 5 by 3. You already know that if you have a monoatomic gas, your gamma is 5 by 3. So everything appears to be going great as far as ideal gas is concerned with statistical mechanics. But yet we still do not know how to calculate number of states, actual number of states. We have only assumed number of states proportional to V for one molecule, n molecule, V raised to n, and so on. We have still not done exact calculation. Let's see how we do it. If you have an n particle system, suppose if I have one particle, uh, classically, if I want to represent its state, I need 6 coordinates, three coordinates and 3 momenta. Okay, so I need six parameters, 6 variables. So if I have n particles, I need 6n particles. Now, phase space is basically a hypothetical space, like in our world, we live in three-dimensional space world. So position is determined by x, y, and z coordinate. If I go into uh, phase space, I will require six-dimensional space. I'll need three directions for coordinates and three directions for momenta. Of course, this will be hypothetical. You can't draw it here, but that's basically what it means. So if you have n particles, you require 6n coordinates, 3n coordinates and 3n momenta. And then, of course, you have a Hamiltonian, which is sum of kinetic energy plus potential energy. And that potential energy is the interatomic potential. I think there is a slight overwriting. I can write only one of the two. Either I write I half or I write I greater than j. I can't write both. So if you are copying, please carefully write it down. Uh, Before I complete this slide, let me ask you, did you people write down the previous slide?
No, sir.
No, sir. No,
Why?
sir.
So when I'm moving forward, why don't you people stop me that you have to write it? Yeah, that's where we had to start with, right? So please write it down quickly. In the flow, if I forget, you have to just stop me to let you write. Vikas bhai, Maru. Yes. Can I go further? Hmm?
Yes,
Okay. So I'm assuming everybody is done with. Okay.
done, sir.
Yes, I can go now. Thank you very much. Yeah. So we were talking about this phase space. Again, I would repeat, either there should be half or there should be I greater than j. Both cannot be there. Because when I take I and j and I sum over all possible values of I and j, it will double the number of terms, because you can have like R1 minus R2 or R2 minus R1. Both it represent interaction between particle 1 and 2. So either you divide all the entire summation sum by half, or you say I'm going to take terms only with I greater than j. Of course, I equal to j doesn't have any meaning. So only I greater than j, which is fair enough. So that half should not have been there here actually. So when you write, please don't write half. And then of course you have Hamilton's equations of motion, which says that the P dot is dou h by dou q, and q dot is dou h by minus dou h by dou p. I have written vector to represent that each one have three components, and I represents the ith particle. Uh, so each equation here actually are three equations. So when I say px dot, it will be dou h by dou x, and if I write x dot, it will be minus dou h by dou px, right? And I represents ith particle. And h of course does not depend on time explicitly. Then energy is a constant of motion. Uh, Sorry. Yeah. Please note it down if you have not. Yes. Now, can I go further? Yeah, I'm
Sure.
assuming all have managed to
Yes,
note
sir.
it down.
Yes.
Yeah, good. I have two spaces. One is for a single particle space, which is on the right hand side. That's a six-dimensional space. We'll call as mu space, in which I plot three coordinate axes and three momentum axes, and then I will have n points in this space. N points, each one represents the system. Sorry, each point represents one particle. Okay, so my system consists of n points in this mu space, and how these endpoints move will decide how system evolves. Uh, the other possibility is that I draw 6n dimensional gamma space where I have 3n coordinate axis and 3n momentum axis. And in this case, my entire system is just 1 point because 6n coordinate, 3n coordinates for n particles and 3n momenta for n particles. So entire system is just 1 point. And how the system evolves is how this 1 point will move on this diagram. Now, suppose if I consider a constant energy surface, what it means, if energy is constant, that means my relation between momentum and coordinates, right? We saw the equation of Hamiltonian. So that is constant, which means instead of 6n variables, I need 6n minus 1 because I have already established one relation between them, which means now this represents a surface, 6n minus 1 dimensional surface. Okay, and that surface, my not particle, point, which represents the entire system, moves as this particle, as the system evolves. So in mu space, all n points will move to show evolution of the system in time, whereas in gamma space, 6n dimensional space, the entire system is just 1 point. How system evolves is decided by how its position and momenta for each molecule is changing. So that point will uh, uh, keep on shifting on this surface of constant energy, right? So it's a trajectory in 6n dimensional space. There will be n trajectories in 6 dimensional space. Okay. Now this is just sort of a mathematical abstraction. It really, we don't worry so much about it. We just look at the practical way of arriving at things. Okay, so the H equal to E is your energy surface. Now, in case of Maxwell-Boltzmann statistics, you may have seen this distribution function, which represents probability of finding particles in particular position, momenta, time. All right, and you will have a 6D volume element, six-dimensional volume element, dq bar dqp. The occupation number per unit volume will be F into delta tau for ith cell. That means the ith cell of six-dimensional space would have that volume element delta tau I, and the number of possibilities in that space will be decided by this distribution function and the volume element. Please keep on writing along with me side by side, so we don't lose time. We are coming to an end and I won't be able to finish what I'm planning to. The total number of particles are n, of course. So if I take ith cell, it has got number of states as ni, then total number of states will be capital N. And the energy, of course, if each of these ni particles in ith cell have energy ei, then the total energy is sum of NiEi. In quantum mechanics, of course, this volume element if you remember, uh, in one dimension, uncertainty principle, we say delta x into delta p is of the order of h, which means I cannot decide beyond that small limit of delta x and delta p what is the state of the particle. So that is the smallest I can go to. I can't distinguish if within this state there are two states. It will be clear very soon uh, with this diagram. In one dimension, if I say that I know particles position within this limit delta x and momentum delta p, I can't go smaller than this. So the smallest size information I have in my six-dimensional space has a size of h cube. One dimensional, it will be of the order of h. Delta x into delta p is h. This haziness, that means, when we took the big box, I could divide it into left half and right half and count number of states. But now when I want to go into six-dimensional space and I want to count number of possibilities, then the smallest I can talk about has a size h. That means if I can consider entire system of energy E and volume V, and then I consider each small state has a volume h cube in six-dimensional space, then I can find out what is the total number of possible states. And then my number of particles will be integration of f in this six n-dimensional space, and energy, of course, accordingly will be given by this expression. So I would suggest let's not waste time in writing this. You will get so that time you copy, or we will just brush it up next time. I'll be sending you PDF. Otherwise, we won't be able to finish it. Okay, I think it's a new topic. I would rather go back and let you note down these things. So I'm just repeating what we have talked about so far. We just reviewed what we talked about last time as in terms of number of states of the system. So we define entropy as related to log of number of states possible for a system, and that allowed us to understand equilibrium, thermal in terms of equal temperatures, mechanical in terms of equal temperature and pressure, and chemical in terms of chemical potential and temperature. And then, of course, we went a step further and we said that, look, if the number of state depends on volume V, in that case, we were able to arrive at the gas equation for an ideal gas, classical understanding. And even quantum mechanically, we were able to arrive at the energy expression, which is consistent with our knowledge of functional thermodynamics. So now we are definitely on a very strong footing in terms of our statistical understanding of the thermodynamic behavior, and we will be moving on further, but we will have to make some assumptions, and these assumptions, of course, are very commonsensical assumptions, and based on that, we will develop further formalism. So thank you very much for today. I'm asking you, in case if you have any question at this point, please ask.
Sir, six-dimensional volume element
Okay.
बताओ ना.
See, in three-dimensional space, your volume element is dx, dy, dz.
Yes, sir.
So in six-dimensional phase space, your three more variables, px, py, pz, which means x component of momentum, y component of momentum, z component. So corresponding volume contribution will be dpx, dpy, dpz. So your six-dimensional volume element will be dx, dy, dz, dpx, dpy, dpz. Correct? Now dx and dpx in the smallest limit is h. dy and dpy product in the smallest limit is also h, and dz and dpz is also h. So your six-dimensional volume element has a volume of h cube, the smallest possible one. So that you will have to treat as one state, because you are not able to go to finer detail of the information, right? Uncertainty principle will prevent you to know anything more than this. Have I made this point clear?
Yes, sir.
So six-dimensional volume, the smallest possible volume you can think of is h cube, and based on that we are developing the formalism. Okay. Any further question? Okay, then thank you very much. We will here today, and we'll continue next time from this point onwards.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you,
Thank you.
Omkarji. We can end this session here.